All right, it is indeed time for the Fluffle to assemble. Welcome, one and all, to the Rabid Atheist Show. I'm your host, Ed Raby, a former pastor turned atheist, now a compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. Welcome, one and all, to everyone who is visiting the Rabid Nation and enjoying the wonderful, wonderful Fluffle of Fangs. Whether you are a paid-for citizen or whether you are just a tourist who's just subscribed, or whether you are just looking across the border wondering whether or not to emigrate to such a wonderful nation as the Rabid Nation. Welcome, one and all. And welcome to Friday Reaction. This is usually what I do on Fridays, is react to something out there in the YouTube space. And today I'm going back to basics, I guess. getting back to the beginning of apologetics, although I'm not so sure about that. The more I study the history of apologetics, it's long, it's storied, and they haven't changed much. And so, you know, people are going to do what they do. So, so we're going to do that. And I almost forgot to do something. So hold on, I've got to make sure this gets in here because I want to talk about it here in a minute. Here we go. I'm going to put this link in the chat for everybody and pin it. And I'll talk about it in a minute. All right. But welcome, one and all. Just a few announcements. There, of course, is a goal in chat. And I want to thank Decibel already for giving to the Hat Fund. Appreciate that. So if I reach that goal, I will wear whatever hat has been chosen by the stream, by the poll at the end through the rest of the stream. That's my way of keeping my channel motoring along and helping me out. So thanks for that. Also, there's a link to the Discord, the Fluffle of Fangs, if you're looking for a community. I don't know. We're a pretty judgment-free zone, so given some of the memes that are posted, we're pretty judgment-free. So, so there you go. And then, of course, there is the GoFundMe link that I just. I do believe I pinned that. Yes, I did. That is for Earl. We're continuing to raise funds for Earl. Gosh, Fluffle, I am so proud of you. We already have 1K out of the 7K we're asking for, so we're 1/7 of the way there to getting Earl, shall we say, back on her feet so she can do her job and do her art without numbness and pain. And so I want to thank the Fluffle. You guys have made me very, very proud. You know, you always wondered what happened. Over the last couple of years, Elizabeth, it's not so much what happened. It's Earl is a dental hygienist, and so she works with her hands a lot, very close quarters, stuff like that. She's been developing a numbness and sometimes pain in her hands that's getting worse and worse. And given the American healthcare system, she and all the changes that took place and all that, she kind of lost her insurance. And so she really needs to take some time off, get that fixed so that she can go back to work more effectively. She's been, also her ex-landlord is kind of an asshole. But yes, so she ended up having to work less and less days. I don't know if it's a pre-existing condition or I think it's more occupational related. So, but she's been slowly but surely losing that, and she doesn't have insurance, and, you know, they kept raising the rent on her. So she's currently homeless. So we're going to try to work on that first and get her a place to live. And then, but we're raising about $7,000 because that's the price to get the surgeries done on both hands that she needs and get the consultations and stuff she needs. So that's what that is for. So she's kind of in a tough spot. And so we're going to run this GoFundMe till we get her out of that tight spot. So get her back on her feet, get her back working. So yeah, she is homeless. So we're we're working on that first, and then we're going to start working on getting her the health care she needs to get her back on her feet. So we are rallying around our artist. If you don't know, she's the one that's done a lot of the Fangs art here. This is still one of my favorites. Like, she did this. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Like, she has brought Fangs to life. And so we're raising funds for her. So appreciate anything that you can do. I'm going to keep that pinned in the chat. I will probably mention it again when I do my intermission, and probably at the end of the show as well. But today is going to be about Thomas Aquinas. Actually, this is a channel called Sanctus. It's a very Catholic channel. If you go to it, the guy does a lot of stuff related to Catholic theology and all that stuff. So we will see. We'll get to him. But yes, so hang in there. So hey, we'll talk about that. The thing about helping Earl, if you can just share the link to places you think could help, just mention this is another one of these wonderful, things that the American healthcare system gives us. So that people that have an occupational problem, that if, you fix their hands, they could help, they could go back to work. Yeah, we don't do that here. So there we go. All right, I'm going to go through a roll call, and then we'll get today's video reaction. So here we go. Good to see you, Blossom. Allegedly, Fred is allegedly here. I think somebody posted about Fangs being responsible for the wildfires. The only thing I could get out of Fangs was he neither confirms nor denies he had anything to do with the wildfires in Canada. So, he has nothing to do with it. Let's see. Evan is here. Oh boy, Rimmer's here. Good to see you, Rimmer. And Dragon Rider's here. Michael's here. Decibel's here. Thank you very much, Decibel. Once again. Asso's here. Are you saying he's a dick? Okay, well, we'll see. We'll see. He was a monk, so there might have been something going on there, Asso. So, hey, Wolf, good to see you. Oh, good to see you, Martin. Ryan Murphy is here. The elder gods have graced us with their presence. I was looking for a comment that describes Thomas Aquinas' 3 arguments. There you go. Tell you, we're going medieval with all the weapons grade bullshit. Yes, there you go. Hey, Felicia, good to see you. Hey, it's fine. Like, the medical care for Earl is long term. Like, she's got to go get her consultation. She's got to go, get a date for it and all that stuff. So what we're just, once we get a date for all that stuff, I'm sure the need will get there. But thanks, thanks. I wouldn't worry too much about it, Felicia. Like, just keep doing what you can. That's all we're asking. Share the stuff. We appreciate it. Anything that anybody does. I know I do. I'm very proud of the Fluffle right now. I'm putting my card in a lot of places. All right. I can do that. I can pass that on to her. I will do that. I absolutely understand what you're saying. I think that's everybody. You're blaming Canada. I don't know. Fangs might be responsible. Yeah. I saw it at the beginning, yes. Yeah, I always love it when these websites have their favorite verses. And then I pull out some of mine from the Bible. Those are always fun. All right. Well, this video is entitled 3 Arguments That Prove the Existence of God, and they're based on Thomas Aquinas. The guy's channel is called Sanctus. Not quite 100,000 subs. Very Catholic. So I haven't really dealt with Catholic apologists much, and I learned a few new names. So So there you go. There you go. So we're going to pull him up and get into it. By the way, he has very nice music, depending on your tastes, I guess. My mother baptized me in classical music, so I have an appreciation for it. So, and the guy, it's actually his voice, because I saw some other videos where he was live. So this is actually his voice, so that's not AI. And a lot of the imagery is just imagery of nature and stuff, except where he quotes a few people. So can't fault the guy for his presentation. Very well done. So let's see if the arguments hold up, though.
When you look out into the world, you might get this natural sense or intuition that there is more beyond what we can see. You may even go as far as saying that there must be a God who is the cause of everything that is, or even the designer of every nature that exists. For how is it that each tree which bears of the nature of treeness is directed to the same end or goals?
Yeah, he just kind of summarized. I give him credit for his writing too. He definitely introduces what he's going to say. He says it, and then he wraps it up at the end. So here we go. But yes, like he's probably the only thing I want to deal with here is like he's kind of appealing to everybody's intuitive senses at this point, which is always, from a philosophical point of view, is always a little bit of a red flag for me. Like I just don't. So yeah, but yes, yeah, like that's another one. Like we're going to get into that because Thomas Aquinas's three arguments, you've all heard them all before. My point tonight, I think, is to show how old some of this stuff is and kind of ask the question, why haven't they moved on? And I think you're going to see what I'm getting at tonight. So you'll see it. But yeah, he's already started with the intuitive sense that there is a God. And then he wants to go into more of a philosophical vein. So, so there you go.
What is it that causes this to be? These are questions that are under the purview of what is called natural theology. For natural theology seeks to find out what we can know about God merely using man's natural reason and the things.
Good to see you, Robin. Yes. We're going to get into that. As somebody with a degree in theology, I can say yes. Natural theology's point is to set aside special revelation. So what natural theology tries to do is it tries to set aside the Bible or any kind of scriptural like revelation and just look at the world around you, look at human beings, look at all that stuff instead of looking at the Bible. So the whole point of natural theology is to try to prove God or gain some understanding of God without looking at a Bible or a holy book. So yes. It's a start. Yes, it's a start. Yes. But yeah.
Of nature without any recourse to a sacred text. Thus, natural theology first begins with finite created things and seeks to establish that these created things are only possible if there is a creator of them, or even.
Yeah, basically, yes, Fred. Like this is thus the problem of natural theology, because natural theology it's in the name, because the moment you label something as theology, you're assuming something like a God. One of the things that I learned in seminary when we were discussing theology is that theology has the basic assumption that God exists. Now, the problem for natural theology is they at least, I'll give natural theologians a credit, they at least try to prove that nature proves a God, okay, rather than be presuppers about it. Like presuppers bother me because they make no such attempt sometimes. Like they just assume that God is the author of all nature, and so they don't even bother to try. A natural theologian will at least try. They will at least make the effort to try to prove there is a God from nature. They don't necessarily presuppose it. In fact, you could possibly say they're kind of divided into camps that when they're trying to prove the existence of God, they don't presuppose a God, but as we will see, though, they kind of do. Like they at least try to do it, but I don't think they figure it. So yeah, that's another issue. Like Catholics will use natural theology. I think Muslims will use it. Protestants don't give a shit about what natural theology says most of the time. They're interested in the Bible, sola scriptura. So yeah, well, I don't know. Theirs are good. Why not Fangs? See, when people ask me what the origin of the universe story is for Fangs, like, well, I went back in time, saw a button, and pushed it. Like, he couldn't resist. It was a button, and he had to push it. Yeah, well, drag around when that is that if people actually use their brains, yes. So, so there you go. But yes, yeah, like in the rest is the fall. So you at that point you're like natural theology says that design and all that stuff proves God, but then they want to. Well, why is all the ugliness there? Well, then they have to run to like the Bible and talk about sin and the fall and all that jazz. So Protestants are kind of more stuck with that they have to run to the Bible. Catholics will sit there and, I've heard some of them say like, well, the tradition of the scripture is something that we established. So, the church has more authority even than scripture. So I've heard that said. So the issues that it had most people, they would probably be skeptical of God's existence. Yes, they would be. So that's kind of where he's coming from. Like he's trying to prove the existence of God simply by looking at nature. And so this guy is kind of narrating what Aquinas and several others came to the conclusions about. These three arguments are very bog standard today. You will hear these arguments from every apologist all the time. So there's nothing new here. It's just, this is one of the more thorough explanations I've heard or attempted. So there you go.
Even the cause of their existence at any moment in time. And this creator, or first cause, is what we know of as God. Interestingly, the study of natural theology is something that is universal. That is, that anyone of any faith, or no faith at all, can use these arguments for God's existence.
Yeah, like, I would say you can see scholars that do natural theology. Like I've seen books written by theologians that are totally focused on natural theology. Like they avoid the Bible like the plague, trying to prove God's existence from reason, looking at the world. They'll look at the trees, look at reason, all that stuff. Like these, you can also couple this in like a full theology book. Like if somebody writes a systematic theology where they're taking all different bits of theology and putting it together in one form, natural theology can be part of that. So, but what the guy tries to make the point here is he's like, anybody can use this. Like anybody can look at nature and prove God exists. So as Fred points out earlier, that it's really, look at the trees on steroids is what we're dealing with here. We're just making it bigger. So, no, I think she's in a hotel right now. A lot of people have been helping her out. So she's trying to find a new apartment just so I keep people updated. And when she gets a new apartment, we'll certainly update things and let you guys know. But that's kind of what we're working on now. What they call nature is artificial and created. Well, that's what they're going to attempt to prove. It gets very fun. We're going to have some fun here. So,
whether it's Aristotle in the 4th century BC, or St. John of Damascus in the 8th century AD, or Avicenna in the 11th century AD, or even St. Thomas Aquinas in the 13th century AD. All of these thinkers,
yeah, like all of these people have made a natural theology argument. So when I say Thomas Aquinas, these are his arguments. I could argue that he took them from somebody else. So there's a good case to be made that Thomas Aquinas already had gotten some of these arguments from other places. So it's an old tradition, like in Christianity and even outside of Christianity, like Muslims do it. Probably some Jewish scholars would head down this route as well. So yes, humans are fallible. I don't know. They're going to say that it's all created by God, but I'm not sure the word artificial would be used. They would consider something created by God to be just as much as part of the natural order as anything else. I don't know, Vixen. She doesn't like that idea. Earl is she's had a lot of bad experiences. I'll just put it that way. So we're trying to work within what she's comfortable with because she's had a lot of bad experiences. So theologians are, well, depends on what you mean by thinker. So there you go.
Are able to pull from man's natural reason to show that God must necessarily exist. Even sacred scripture makes this fact clear, for it claims that no one is without excuse to believe in God, and that we can know that God exists through the things that he has created. St. Paul writes, "For what can be known about God is plain to them."
I'm sorry. Damn it. I should have given the Romans 1:18 through 20 warning before I said this part, but here we go.
Because God has shown it to them. Ever since the creation of the world, his invisible nature, namely his eternal power and deity, has been clearly perceived in the things that have been made, so they are without excuse.
Yeah, like, yeah, Ryan. Like, this guy goes off the rails with me a little bit here because if we spent all this time talking about natural theology and then we're going to bring in the sacred scriptures. The whole point of natural theology is not to look at special revelation. And so so immediately he brings in special revelation, but I don't know if he's doing it so much as he thinks it's a proof or as he's giving an example of how Paul did natural theology and wrote it down, which I suppose that might be valid. But as all of us know, this verse, rightly, I think Captive Death has a great video that he shows on the right where somebody just starts laughing as soon as you pull this out. Just so everybody knows my views on this verse, this is how I know that the Bible is A, fallible, and B, not the word of God. Because this verse for me is untrue. Like the whole assertion of Romans 1 is that everybody knows there's a God, they just deny him in their unrighteousness. And I really genuinely do not believe there is a God, and I don't think I'm denying anything in my unrighteousness. So, yes. She is in North Carolina, but I don't think she's not in Asheville. I can tell you that. This is one place I'm not comfortable about talking about where she's actually at publicly. So. The thing you have to remember about Earl, she has people that have stalked her before, so we try to protect where she is. So, yeah.
Thus today we shall cover 3 of these philosophical arguments for God's existence: the argument from causality, the argument from contingency, and the argument from design or finality. All of these arguments are demonstrative arguments, that is to say, they leave no room for error. They are either true or false. And today, using the philosophy of Aristotle and St. Thomas Aquinas, we shall show that they most definitely hold true.
Okay, so there's the claim about the 3 arguments, that they are necessarily true or false, which I would agree with. And if they're false, I can dismiss them. So, which has happened for a lot of us with these arguments, that we have dismissed them because they have proven themselves false. But he's going to attempt using these 3 arguments to prove conclusively that God does indeed exist. So I want everybody to hang on to their hats. We might all end up being Christians before the end of the day. So here we go. Yeah, I don't know. He assumed a shit ton of stuff. So, um, so yeah, I mean, denying the premise, yes, like we're going to end up doing a lot of that. So, what gets me though is Christians will claim that nature proves there's a God, and the next breath they will say the closer you get to nature, the further you are away from God. Both can't be true. Yeah, they do say that. So yes, so we're going to see. So this is the claim that these three things will show conclusively that there is a God. So I want everybody to understand that the rabid atheist might be over within the next couple hours. So here we go.
As a side note, if you want to support me, make
Oh
sure
yeah,
to check out my
yeah,
store,
yeah.
which has
Go
various
to a
graphics
store.
related to Christ, St. Thomas, St. Augustine, and more. Thank you.
Okay, a question for all the Catholics in the room. This symbol that he's using, what the hell is that? Like, can somebody tell me what that is? Like, I tried to. So many people use this symbol that I'm trying to figure out what it is. Like, what the hell is it? Um, like it's like a three sticks of wood, an A, a Q, or a Q, or whatever the hell that is, and I'm still trying to figure it out. So,
The argument from causality, of course, deals with this concept of cause and effect that we see in the world. The cause of cooked steak is the heat produced by a fire which burns it. Thus, the cause is the heat, and the effect is the cookedness of the steak. But we can easily imagine a series of causes in which the cause and effect is like the linking of a bunch of mechanical gears. For the first gear in this chain gives causality and affects the second gear, and the second gear gives causality to the third gear. But this second gear is only able to give causality for the third gear to move because it receives causality from the first gear.
okay, is that the cross that Constantine saw? Okay, all right. So, how many organizations in Catholicism use that damn thing? Like, I see it everywhere, and I don't understand why they would like. It seems weird to me. I mean, I like symbology when it's pretty good, but that one just doesn't want to. But yeah, okay, thanks. Yeah, kind of the alpha omega. I think it's silly for a few. Okay, thanks. The elder gods have spoken, so that's probably true. Um, but yes, like so, we're getting the early parts of the argument from First Cause. So here we go. So here's the preliminaries.
We can now take this concept and apply it to the existence of things. For example, what is the cause of my existence at any moment in time? Well, it's not my parents because they only instrumentally caused me to exist at some point in the past.
All right, I'm calling bullshit on that point alone. Um, because he's making the assumption that somehow my parents had nothing to do like the only thing that they did for my existence was be the cause of my existence. Like, he's making an assumption that there's more to it at that point than actually that's all that's necessary. The cause of my existence is my parents. Like, so yeah, you caught that one too. You caught it too. Just instrumental. Like, what? It seems like, yeah, yeah, yes. Oh, yeah, like they don't want to give their parents credit. Like, come on, man. I don't, I just don't know. I just, yes. Well, yeah, like it just, it's like because I know a lot of people said the cause of my existence is my parents, and this is the apologetic response: is no, your parents are just the instrumental reason that you did that you exist. It's not, it's not really, they didn't really cause your existence. They were just the instrumental cause of your existence. But see, yeah, honor your father and mother, right? Yeah. Oh, thanks, Martin. Appreciate it. But yes, having instrumental, yes. But like, I'm like, what? When I first saw that, heard this, I'm like, what? You're making a distinction. You're trying to make a distinction so my parents don't get the ultimate credit for the cause of my existence. So you're smuggling in the answer that you want to be there, that this other thing or God is ultimately the cause of my existence. So you're trying to smuggle that in without first justifying it. And so like I heard that and I'm like, what? Like my parents are just instrumental causes. Hey, thanks, Cranky. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. So there we go. Oh my goodness. Yes, alcohol has caused a lot of people's existence. Yes. So yeah, well, that brings up the question, doesn't it? Remember, like, okay, if my parents aren't, is any influence on my parents the cause? Like, what if it is alcohol? What if it is, like, I mean, like there are other things that are instrumental to the cause of my existence. Like, couldn't I label everything that's the cause of my existence instrumental? Like, it seems like a distinction without a distinction. Like, I I don't know how he distincts instrumental cause from other causes. Like, he wants to show how the gears work. Well, each one of those is an instrumental cause for the other gear's rotation. Like, I don't, I don't know what the problem is. But no, it was just weird when I heard it. I'm like, you just made an argument about everything being an instrumental cause, and then you just throw this definition of instrumental cause in here, and you don't really justify it. So, yeah, oh yeah, immaculate conception.
But why do I still exist? What is sustaining my existence at any moment in time? Well, it can't.
Oh, okay. So now we've added the new concept of sustained cause. Well, what the hell how does that differ from instrumental? Like, it seems like we're smuggling in a couple of things here, some ideas here without any justification. So I don't know. Friend has 10 cents. Most of the conceived while his stepdad was rendered paralytic by his mom after a ninth child got his tubes tied. Oh, okay. I don't know. He has some great visuals. I'll give it that, Robin. Like, the video editing is really well done, and it's not AI. So kudos to him.
Be myself, since then you'd have to say that I cause myself to exist before I'm even able to give existence to myself. If this was not already clearly absurd, then Cardinal Cajerton clears it up for us. Cajerton.
I See, I don't think it's absurd that my parents caused my existence simply because you describe that as instrumental. Like, I don't know how we get there. And we're about to hear from a cardinal, so hold on to your hats. Yeah, quantum mechanics maintains existence. Yeah, that might be it. That might be it.
States that it is impossible that some being should affect its own proper existence is evident from this. That it would then follow that it would exist before it would exist, from the fact that it would cause it would exist, for every efficient cause exists, from the fact that its own proper existence would cause its own existence, it would follow upon causality of that. Thus, it would exist before it would exist.
Okay. Is this guy like Jordan Peterson's previous life? I, I I was reading this and like, well, what a great bunch of word salad that is, just to say that it's ridiculous to think that we caused our own existence. Like, Redditors are redditing again, I see. Oh my God. Yeah, it's an argument from induction when you get right down to it, but it's like, uh, yeah, it's a bird named after him. But I'm, I'm reading this and I'm thinking to myself, did Jordan Peterson go back in time? Like, and become a cardinal? This is great word salad in a lot of ways. all to say one simple thing, and it's almost overdone. So yeah. Oh, thanks, Fred. And I think that's 5. Oh, that's quick, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And the winner is We the People, as usual. Here, I'll shrink this down just a bit. There we go. We the People means everyone. So there we go. I don't often wear a hat when I do this, so maybe it'll affect my thinking on it. Maybe I'll start to see it their way. But like this, I'm like, God damn it. Yeah, Back to the Future 666. Oh my gosh. But yes. So we have the word from a cardinal. I assume that means it's supposed to be more authoritative. I don't know. I got this hat off of Amazon. It took a while to get here, though, Elizabeth. I will warn you that. So I ordered it at like the beginning of Pride Month, and it didn't get here until July 1st. So it took a bit. So it's definitely popular because it took me a while to get it. So, but there you go. So the Cardinals have spoken.
Thus, the cause of my existence being sustained at any moment in time must be external to me. That is to say, it must be something other than myself. So there must.
Or if we look at biology and physics, quantum mechanics keeps our shit together. Our eating of food keeps us going and sustains our existence. Our fellow humans around us help us sustain our existence. Like, maybe we can look around us and see all the things that actually sustain our existence instead of coming up with some sort of out there spiritual, metaphysical, some kind of nonsense. Like, why does it have to be this thing? Like, why can't it be just the stuff? Like, yeah, like why does this thingy thing have to be outside space time? Like, why does it have to? So not yet. Not yet. So far we're doing good, asshole. Thanks for checking in, though.
Must be a thing which causes me to exist at any moment, and it must have this power of causality to give existence. Such a thing.
Once again, why do I need this again? Like, I can look around me and see what sustains my existence. I can understand science and realize there's certain things about atoms that make up who I am that sustain my existence. I don't need a God for any of that. Like, why are we pulling this idea of needing something to sustain us out of our ass? Like, I hate to be rude about it, but that's like, it's one of those things where I'm just like, it seems like a little bit of a leap there. Like, why do I need that? Like, I can look at my cause of my existence being my parents, okay, at the start of it. And then I can look at the laws of physics, the various biological needs that I have that get met, various social stuff that I get met. All these things go forward in keeping my existence. Why do I need this God for that? Like, I can do very well about understanding the maintenance of my existence without a God. Like, I don't need the God part. So I don't get it. Yeah, I know. Not mine, though, thankfully. Yeah, that's another good question. Okay, that's the problem. If this argument holds water, which it doesn't, then who caused God? Like, this is one of the problems with this argument is there's a special pleading to it. There's a few other problems to it. I wrote some notes down here just to make sure I get it. But special pleading is definitely one of them. So, and the one I'm trying to hit here is like, we don't need metaphysics to explain causation or continued existence. Like, I don't need that. So I just don't need it. Like, he hasn't proven that I need this. Like, I need the existence of God for these things. He's just kind of assumed them. There's the same line that defines waterfall and fish that can be on Fridays. Oh my goodness. They said they'd have to give their God to prove God. Yes. Yeah, that's kind of what he's doing. Yeah, recreational pharmaceutics reduce discomfort from the stupid. Okay. Have you confirmed this, Cranky? Oh, many Christians will claim that if there was God who exists above and beyond the universe, yeah, they do that. But once again, like, we're going to run into the other big fallacy with this line of thinking, which is they want to give an exception. Like, they're, in the end, the conclusion is kind of, he's going to come to this conclusion, and I don't want to spoil anything. Not that I'm really spoiling anything if you know this argument. He's going to come to this conclusion that you need this uncaused cause, but then we're just going to jump to therefore God. Like, this is the largest problem with this, is there's some special pleading, and there's definitely some begging the question for pretty much everything we're going to listen to. There's this, and I just want to illustrate, like, he's doing it here. Like, there must be this continued cause of my existence, this continued maintenance of my conditions, and it has to be something outside nature. And the question is, why do you make that assumption? And he continues to do this throughout the video. So,
of course, sounds exactly like God, for who else can give the property of existence to things but God himself? Nonetheless, an atheist might say, well, maybe there's an infinite series of causes that goes on forever, and thus there is no first cause or being which ultimately gives existence to things. To refute this notion of an infinite causal chain, we merely have to go back to our discussion of the gears, which cause the other gears in the chain to have the effect of moving. Each gear moves only in virtue of the first gear, which gives it causality. But if we extend these gears infinitely, then the answer of where the causality comes from never gets explained. Put differently, these secondary causes only have causality in virtue of a primary cause. To say that there is no first cause.
Okay, notice he just introduced a concept there of primary cause. I don't think he's said that up to this point. Like, he has to say there has to be like this primary gear, like the main gear driving off the engine. So he just introduced this idea of a primary cause without really, why does it have to be? Like, you can do that. You shut up, Aquinas, you're drunk, or yes, an uncaused cause needs an uncaused causer. That might be true. Yeah, he's also introduced the idea that the universe was created right there. Like, he just dropped it in, and he didn't bother to prove that the universe was created. Like, this is what he's trying to overall prove, but he assumed it. Like, he assumed it right away. It was kind of weird. Oh yeah, he's getting into Buddhism. I don't know if he knows that. Don't tell him that. He'll get upset. Yes, gears, therefore magic. Yes.
Cause is to say that there is no causality at all, and thus no existence.
That's not something you can say. To say that there isn't a primary cause is to assume that there's no cause at all, or any kind of cause. That's nonsense. Like, the one thing that I've always bothered me about this primary cause is there seems to be a monotheistic assumption behind that. Like, I agree with Christopher Hitchens. Like, so what if you prove a primary cause? You still have all your work ahead of you, proving that it's your God to do it. But there seems to be a monotheistic lack of imagination where multiple causes could come into play at the same time or be added on top of each other. And the moment you do that, though, of course, you open up the fact that polytheism might make more sense. Or different beings of power get created and work together in some sort of committee to create the universe. Like, and that would make more sense given some of the fucked up nature of the universe. But I don't know. Like, he's smuggling. The problem I've always had with this argument from Aquinas is he always keeps smuggling in these new ideas without necessarily justifying them in the argument. So, manure salad, okay. It is kind of mixed up with a lot of bullshit. The problem is, there's no logical or philosophical problem with the infinite regress, whether it is or isn't. Enough time has passed to get to our present moment. Yes, and that's kind of the point. Like, it's, we now have arguments all over the place whether an infinite regress people rejected the infinite regress for a while, then they accept it, then they go back and forth. We really have to say that at a certain point we just don't know. And because we're ignorant, and being the curious little monkeys that always have to have an answer, we human apes always seem to try to find an answer even when we don't have one, because that's more satisfying. So I don't know. The thing I had to note here was like the argument itself starts to smuggle the idea of primary cause. It starts to smuggle the monotheistic idea of God. It starts to smuggle that in as assumptions without justifying it. And this was my problem with this argument way back, I don't know, several years ago, when I actually did a series on the arguments for the existence of God and kind of dismissed them all. So yeah, like there's a non sequitur here a little bit too. Like, how does that have anything to do with what we're talking about? But we don't know that the universe itself even has a beginning. Yes, like that's my point. Like, we don't know that. For all we know, the universe could have always existed. It's fallacy of composition. Yes. So Dragon Rider brings out the good points. So I really argument. Yeah. So there we go. But we're not going to hear this guy. I don't know who this guy is. So we're going to hear him out though.
Father Garrigou-Lagrange writes further, but such infinite regress is absurd in a series necessarily subordinated, as for example in the following: the moon is attracted by the earth by the sun by another center, and thus to infinity. Such regress, we must say, is absurd. If there is no first center of attraction, here and now in operation, then there would be no attraction anywhere. Without any actually operating spring, the clock simply stops. All its wheels, even were they infinite in number, cause no effect.
Okay, any thoughts on this word salad? Well, that is another criticism of Aquinas these days, is that he's working with an old paradigm of how the universe worked. And so he just, well, yeah, no, you just keep making jokes. I pick up the ones I notice. So I have no idea if this guy is qualified to talk about this. I have no idea. But like the first example, like the moon is attracted to the earth the sun to some other thing. But we're still dealing with something that's finite, like in a sense. Like there's at some point, I think the point he's trying to make is there's some point where there's a center that's the center of all attraction kind of thing. That may or may not be true. Like you could have multiple centers of attraction and that they go different from each other. So yeah, there's also the issue of the assumption here. Like, is there something? Yeah, like right. Welcome, Modern Anthony. Yes, I wanted to deal with Aquinas because everybody still uses him. Like, if you go to any apologist site right now, you will find Aquinas's arguments there. Like, everybody uses them. Turek uses him. Wallace uses him. Like, any apologist that you can think of, these arguments are still used. And so it's almost like if you're going to do counter apologetics, you kind of have to understand what Aquinas is arguing, because it's kind of centered to everything that he does. Like, all apologists kind of come back to this. And now this is particularly dealing with his natural law type theology, but and those kind of apologetics, but you always end up back at Aquinas for something, which is really, there's going to be a bull somewhere because there's so much bullshit. Oh, Joe Smith in Mercer book, which response to Edward Freestyle. Okay. Yeah. Like this part just bothers me because he wants to say that infinite regress is absurd. And that, of course, leads to the fact that they want the first cause to be God. I get that part. I get the reasoning here. It feels like we're like typical of apologetics, we're reasoning backwards. Like, we're not just, to me, if you're going to do a genuine natural theology as a guy who has a degree in theology, I made this argument in class once. It seems like to me that if we were going to do natural theology, we wouldn't start with the conclusion there is a God. We would start reasoning from natural things and trying to figure out what the natural world actually shows about us. But if you're working constantly with the assumption there's a God, you're constantly in a thinking mode that begs the question. And I think this guy's reasoning here on the screen is a great example of that. Yeah, I think it is. I think it is that guy. Wow, you guys are zipping along with the comments here. Creation theists do not solve the problem of an inherent arrangement from finite, but they do introduce the problem of creating something from nothing. Yes, they do. I hate theism with a passion. Most senses sounds like gibberish. Mon and Thomas insist on speaking the way it's been spoken. It gets really confusing. Yes. Please put it in English. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like this guy, as he's talking, he's assuming that he's right. He's assuming his conclusion a little bit. So to me, it's kind of reasoning backwards. Okay, suppose I could study the earth, the moon, the sun, and all the gravitational attraction. What if I get to the fact that after cosmic inflation, we end up with this is the problem. We could end up with something that's a little bit bigger than we understand. And he's seeming to assume that there's got to be some sort of central, you could use gravity as an example, that somewhere in the universe, there's a center of all the gravity of the universe. Is that, I don't know if can we say that yet? My ignorance is showing here, but but he's kind of assuming God is that. So I'm not even sure we're playing on the same ball field at this point. His argument is directed towards non-believers. Thomas is trying to convince some believers they could use something outside of Scripture. Yeah, I think you're right about that, Cranky, because as much as I would like to think that natural theology, when I was learning theology in seminary, natural theology was billed as this thing as without presupposition. But the moment you inject the word theology into it, there's an assumption. The theo meaning God and theology meaning study of. So natural theology automatically assumes that this natural look at things and reason is immediately connected with God. And so they never get away from this. When I was studying theology in seminary and we were talking about natural theology, the assumption was that God was the conclusion. So everybody, I would have to say at this point that all apologetics has some presuppositionalism to it that goes beyond standard presuppositionalism. It's more than that. So they just assume God. It's largely pseudo-profound gibberish. Is rooted in Aristotelian metaphysics, as well as something called scholastic metaphysics, both of which metaphysicians have largely abandoned. Okay. Thanks, Leo, and appreciate you being here. Good to see you. Yeah, this is, it's weird to me. This leads to another, I look at apologetic method, what methods are the apologists using? And I find it very interesting that they often use things that are discarded rather than current modes of thought. Does anybody else notice this? And this is why, and part of the reason why Aquinas here and all the rest of them that do this are so popular, because they do things, they're old. And I don't know, it seems to me it's part of the mystique of the apologist to create this artificial authority. And so if it's old and well-known, apparently it's more true than anything else. So I don't know what they're getting at, but yes. Yeah, a lot of what they did back then was theological in nature. So but that's the thing you begin to notice if you go to seminary and you study natural theology a little bit, because I did. They're still assuming God the whole time. It's in the name, theology. If you're going to say theology, the moment that's an instant assumption of God. So if you're going to get away and truly examine the natural world to see if it shows a God, you have to stop assuming there is one. and run into that conclusion based on your research. And so far, no dice from a lot of people. Question arises, why did God wait for an infinite amount of time to create? Polytheists can get around this by gods aren't eternally old, no infinite regress, rather infinite waiting. Yeah, like polytheism gets around a lot of things better than monotheism does, like the all-powerful God, all that. Because you have beings of great power, but not all power. You have beings of great knowledge, but not all knowledge. They have limitations. And because of those limitations, you can actually make them make more sense. That's one of the things I argued a long time ago. So he's a freaking king. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I can pull up the precept opossum here. There you go. So there you go. If you want a precept opossum, there you go. Oh my gosh. These are pretty good scientists in the clergy and precepts like Roger Bacon. Yeah, I mean, there's good scientists, but like natural theology makes an assumption.
As a clarification, when we speak of a causal chain, which is a series of causes affecting each other, we do not mean one which is temporal or takes place over time, as a series of dominoes hits the next domino in front of it, and then has no influence over it since it did its job essentially. Instead, we are talking about one in which at any particular moment, each cause in this chain is constantly influencing the next without stopping. As for example,
there's something wrong with that. And I'm trying to figure out a way to say it. So to them, it's not just that the causes are like a domino. It's more like the gears here, I think is what he's trying to say, that there's a constant, continual cause. But does that bear out? Like certain things do come to an end and don't necessarily cause something else. Like there seems to be a real big assumption here. Seriously, Ed is secretly trying to convince the world that I only make bad jokes. No, I'm not doing that. You mean this one? No, I'm not trying to do that. But yeah, hey, Sandals. You can kind of assume Hinduism, monotheistic, and Abraham religions are polytheistic, or maybe Islam is. It's harder. Yeah, I don't know. Isn't connected. Connected. Yeah, I just blew your conspiracy theory. Sorry about that. Sorry, not sorry. Predicted by it, isn't it connected to the next? Like it's, I don't know. I feel like there's some. I can't put my brain to putting it into words, but he wants to reject the domino idea for more of a continual, constant gear idea of how all this stuff connects together. Like, and I'm this. I think that puts it. Gosh, I almost want to say it's a dichotomy that, like, maybe it's a both and. Like certain causes do cause things that eventually they do end, kind of thing. And then there's something else that can do that, but there's also continuous stuff. So I don't know. Like there seems to be like he's assuming a certain thing is true and the other thing is not. So time is trying to begin a little measurement. It's just a measurement of different units, moments. Yeah, like that's kind of what I'm getting to. Like if we didn't have clocks, what would we say about causation?
In our analogy of the gears, in which the gears are only able to move by the previous gear, which causes it to move. If you take that previous gear out, then the second gear loses all its power. Nonetheless, as we have established, this causal chain cannot be infinite, since it is impossible for it to do so.
We haven't established that. I don't think anybody sitting there that argued against an infinite regress actually had an airtight argument against an infinite regress. So, and where a better statement would be based on what we know is, I don't know. Like, yeah, maybe movement in a static state. Like the universe is a lot more complicated than theology wants to make it. Theology has as somebody with a degree in theology, I can say they tend to make things overly simplistic. in order to explain them. So I don't know. But when you look at causation, like there's a whole bunch of overlapping things that are happening all at once, and some things stop, and it's just much, much more difficult, though. Different aspects of the same deity. Yeah, you could put it that way. Yeah. There she is. Wonderful, lovely, beautiful, smart, intelligent. Lapping which our Lord naps. I killed Earl. One of the smartest girls I know. One of the smartest women. Definitely. One of. Good to see you, Ike. Good to see you, Bren. All right. Oh, yeah. Yes, these. Yes, the lap has arrived. Theology assumes the universe acts according to their definitions. Yes, that's the thing. So there you go. Anyways, boy, a lot of people arriving at the same time. All right, here we go.
Thus, there must be a first cause of everything that is, and this first cause just has to be existence itself, because if it wasn't identical to existence, then its own existence must be external to it. But since this causal chain can't go any further back, it must be existence itself.
Okay, so he's come to the conclusion that if we go back, follow all the causal chains, go back to the causal things of existence, that we get to existence itself as the primary cause. Yes, and Scrappy, yes. Yes, Earl is Scrappy. Since time tracks state changes, I don't even know if there's such a thing as time if nothing changes. Yeah, I agree. Has it talked about the law of nature, law of humans, and the law of God? Not yet. No. We haven't gotten to all of them yet. So far, we've only gotten to, like, we're still in the argument from causality. That's his first argument. So we're still there. Yeah. So there we go. So you have to admire the ale Aquinas was drinking when he wrote this. But yes, like, so we get back to existence itself as the primary cause. But my guess is we're going to try to dismiss this because we want to go, therefore, God. Anybody want to take this bet?
Therefore, this first cause must necessarily be God, since this first cause...
Wow, that was quick. No build-up, no reasoning from existence to God, like how that works. Just bam. Bing. Like, okay, you've just made all this causality argument, getting back to the beginning of existence itself. So existence itself has to be the cause, but then we're just going to jump to therefore God. Why does it have to be God? Like, you haven't proven this. You haven't demonstrated that it has to be God. Like, this is one of the frustrating things when I was reading Aquinas on the subject, because the guy who created this video isn't far off. Like, he just kind of like, bang, there's God down. Yes, how did causing get caused? Yes, I'm saying it. Yeah, it wasn't very sleight of hand, was it, Wolf? It was like, bam, therefore God. Oh my gosh. It's five God, therefore five God. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, like, it was not, I was just like, I watched this first, I'm like, what? He just went from existence to God without any justification. No sleight of hand. I got to give you credit. That's ballsy. Like, it's like right in your face. At least you're honest about it, but holy shit.
imparts existence to others and is itself self-subsisting existence. That is to say, this being is existence itself, and this is what we know of as God. Thus the argument...
But why does it have to be a being? You haven't even proven that it has to be a being. Like, you just jumped from one thing to a freaking another without any kind of justice. Thank everyone who's donated to my GoFundMe. Thanks to all. I was able to book a book place for a minute, so me and my pupper aren't homeless. From the bottom of my black station, sweetheart, thank you, Earl. You know, all of our apologists, but yes, Earl, yes. And I want to do, like, I thanked everybody earlier, but now that Earl's here, I'll add to that. Thank you, all of you. I've been very proud of the Fluffle and everybody who connected to us in the donations so far. Thank you so much. But yes. All right. Yeah. Yes. He literally, he might as well have said, therefore God. Yes. Oh my gosh. But now he's going on and on. I was like, why does it have to be a being? Why does it have to have infinite power? Like, he's making all these assertions, and I just don't see it. Yes, the Fluffle is indeed mighty, thanks to Fangs. Yes. Yeah, me too, Earl. Evan. Like, I'm a little overwhelmed. Like, when you and I put the GoFundMe together, I'm like, oh gosh, I hope this works. And I've just been stunned. I spent like the first couple of days in stunned. So there you go. Yeah, there you go. So I know it means a lot to Earl. So she appreciates all the fluffy and all the love. So thank you, everybody. I just big, big, big for me. Like, there's more to this channel than just looking at old arguments from Aquinas. Oh my goodness. This is where this argument goes off the rail for me, because I just jump to this shit. It just drives me nuts.
Argument from causality holds true, and therefore God's existence. One interesting thing to note is that each argument actually gives us a clue into the various attributes of God. And so, for example, this argument establishes that God is the first cause, who is existence itself. At the end of the video, we will conclude with all the attributes from the various arguments, and other certain properties that necessarily come forth.
Okay, so what now, if you didn't catch all that, what he's saying is, like, this argument, he's going to now assume the conclusion of this argument is true for some of the other things he's going to say. So yes, so I as an assumption of God created all that's good and beautiful, and what is beautiful is from God. Yeah, like, it's Brent, I think you're right. So it's like they don't bother to question that assumption. And this argument certainly doesn't do that. Oh, Earl. You're going to make me cry, Earl, and I'm trying to do a stream. I already have a lot of fifis about this. This has been overwhelming to me. So, but yeah. All right. Let's see if he moves on here.
Nonetheless, let us proceed to the next argument, which is the argument from contingency. Now,
it's okay, baby. It's all right. Oh my gosh. I know. None of us can help it, but I appreciate the Fluffles so much. You guys have been great, and everybody associated with us. Like, you guys are awesome. But yeah. All right. On to the argument from causality. Anybody ready to have some laughs? Yeah, like, he shows art and landscapes. So there you go.
There's the last argument centered around cause and effect. This argument centers around contingency and necessity. If a necessary being is that which cannot begin or cease to exist, then a contingent being is that which can begin or cease to exist. All one has to do is look out into the world and see that some things come into existence, such as a flower, and then eventually die, and thus making this flower a contingent being. Now, that which is contingent and does not have a sufficient reason to exist in itself.
Okay, did everybody get that part? Like, some things are contingent. They come into existence and then they go out of existence, but there has to be something. The argument, I think, eventually says there has to be something that isn't contingent. So there you go. There is an argument to be made, Dragon Rider, that this is exactly the same argument in a way. Aquinas has a habit of doing this, where he kind of, to me at least, maybe this is my opinion, he kind of just try for the argument for something else. Yeah. Aquinas tends to like recycle thoughts back into his next argument. So this guy is just kind of following the tradition. Now, of all the three arguments, this is the shortest presentation in it. So it's not going to take long, but the idea is some things come into being and then they end. Like it's the alpha omega, the beginning end kind of argument. And then we have to have something then that doesn't have that quality in order for all the other things that are contingent. So, oh yeah, he's very hard on divine command. So yes, it's an argument from constipation. That could be fair.
Self, that is to say, is not a necessary being, must be explained by another being. And this other being, which is the explanation of this prior being's existence, must have a sufficient reason for its own existence. And its sufficient reason must be either in itself or in another. If it's in itself, it must be a necessary being. And if it's in another, it's contingent.
All right, so we get to this idea that some items, some of these things are necessary beings because they're not, everything is contingent on them. So, like, you can't have like vegetation without soil, as the example he's got up there. Like, if there is no soil, there is no vegetation. But the soil isn't necessarily contingent on the vegetation. So the argument is kind of a first cause argument, but very much more specific to me. So yeah, I have no problem calling it that. Only by making it again in a different way, he introduces more fallacies. So bleep, bleep, bleep. that's a great one. Yeah. Well, we argued earlier, Decibel, that Thomas Aquinas's arguments are old as the hills. Like, other people made them before him. So, it's one of those ideas that the most original people are the ones that hide their sources best. Like, so there you go. Yeah. Yes, sometimes. Back to special pleading for an unnecessary being that's just necessary because reasons. Yes. So we're getting down that same path again.
If one posits another being as the reason for this third being's existence, then the question of the sufficient reason for its existence gets pushed back further. Yet again, we have here a causal chain, but just as the last causal chain in the other argument, it cannot go on to infinity. For if it went on into infinity, then there would be, in last analysis, no sufficient reason for the existence of any being in that causal chain. Thus,
Well, but that kind of assumes that there needs to be a reason for the necessity of it. Like, I feel like with this argument from Aquinas, like he's assuming that everything has a purpose, like a purpose that's greater than itself. Um, and he doesn't bother to justify that. Like, there seems to be, yeah, there are plants that can do that. They can get away with soil. They just need air. Like, but like it seems to me like there's this idea of purpose that gets smuggled in here. Like, everything has to have a purpose. There's no justification for this, but it's just kind of smuggled in there. Oh, the hills are far away. Hey, I'll give the guy credit. He's got some beautiful scenes in this. This is really good stuff. Like, I give kudos to his editing. Like, good stuff. Definitely not AI stuff either. And his voice is actually his voice. I checked. So, he narrates this stuff himself. So I got to give him credit for that. But yeah, like, I just feel like, okay, the whole idea of necessary or contingent smuggles in an idea. Like, why can't there be this interconnectedness where there might not necessarily be a necessary being? Like, why can't we have that? Like, give me an answer to that. So yeah, like, it's all under God's law. So God's law of the universe is being assumed. So once again, we have like begging the question. So There can only be one. Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Why does there only have to be one? Like, why does that have to be? So I don't get it. I don't get that part.
In order to avoid this possibility, we must posit a being which has the sufficient reason of its existence in itself. That is to say, it is a necessary being and is not contingent. This
But once again, why do I have to posit this being? Like, why can't we just have a universe that when we look at it, everything is contingent on everything else? Like, once again, the first cause argument, it seems to be redoing it again, and it has the same problems as the first argument. I don't get it. So, why the Highlander mentality? Like, there has to be this one necessary cause. Well, why does it have to be one necessary cause? Like, I don't like that. There's this argument appeals to me. I think to a lot of people, it appeals to a lot of people in the sense that it's designed to say, hey, you may be contingent, but you're contingent on an absolutely necessary being and have your own purpose. Like, it seems to be bringing that in. So just press pause and you pause it yourself. Yes. Oh, Evan, this is why I love you. I'm talking about marijuana. Dandelions are very beneficial to encourage you to kill them off. Yes. Is necessity necessity? Yeah, like that's my issue. Yeah, you guys are all asking the right question. Like, why do we have to have this necessary being? Why can't we have a universe that's everything is contingent on other things? Like, everything has a contingency. Like, why is that not possible? Like, it's a different way, I guess, of trying to prove there isn't an infinite regress, I guess, but he still, like, the arguments that Aquinas and everybody are giving here for these arguments, they just still haven't proven some of their assertions. So I just don't get it. So they will argue that the universe is too complex to exist by itself, but then argue that God has to be more complex in the universe to create it. By whence did something create God? Special pleading. Yes, like we're going back to the special pleading of we're going to make the exception in God, but we're not going to justify why God is an exception. And we want to come to this conclusion. And once again, we have an argument that really feels like we started with a conclusion, therefore God, and then we're going to just make something up to get there. They don't like that idea of not having a creator. They don't.
necessary being has power to give existence to all other beings without itself needing another to give existence to it, since it is a necessary being.
I feel like we just created something by definition without actually proving that it's there. So
This necessary being is none other than what we know of as God. The final and third argument for God's existence.
Okay, that's number 2. I told you that one was short. Here we go. Final argument for God's existence. Here we go.
That we shall cover is the argument from design, or finality.
All right. Yes, like before the watchmaker argument, Aquinas did the design argument too, and people before him have done the design argument. So here we go. I'm going to play this probably a little faster because most of us, we deal with this in counter apologetics all the time.
Mankind can look out and see that the leaves on trees have a consistent pattern of change as the seasons go by, or further that all things in existence have an inclination to stay in existence. St. Thomas Aquinas correlates this with Aristotle's principle of finality, which essentially teaches that every nature or essence of a being tends toward a goal or an end. Thus, all things in the universe have some type of final end that they are ordered toward.
Okay. What gets smuggled in here is the whole ordered towards, like there's a divine plan. There's this big plan where everything moves towards its desired end as if it's ordered. I don't know if you can prove that. I think that's a smuggled in assumption to me. Like, you're smuggling in the idea that everything ends in with a certain purpose, and you haven't bothered to prove that. So, like, there's this principle of finality that Aristotle was fond of. he might have been wrong. Like, does the tomato juice get the bullshit smell out of the speakers? I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever get the evidence either. Uh, Intelligent design as a modern concept probably has a more scientific origin, probably, but it's been around forever. Like human beings have always had this idea that a god made the universe or community of gods. So, um, yeah, unaccelerated accelerator. Yeah, like there's. Yeah, I know Aristotle wasn't a monotheist either. So it's kind of ironic. But yeah, like this whole idea is just a smuggled in. Everything's working towards a goal, but I, I don't know. Um, so if some of the goals are senseless death and suffering that makes no reasonable sense and has no positive outcome, doesn't seem to have like when you look at all these things, sometimes I'm sorry, I fail to understand like some people's deaths are just for nothing. Like you're arguing a big thing here that I don't think you can prove. Like yeah, it's very ironic. Origin was a mechanism for smuggling and creation in the classroom. Yeah, I think that's why I'm saying like it's more of a modern, but the idea of argument from design has been around for a long time. It's just intelligent design is more of a movement to try to get, well, we're not saying that it's a Christian God, but we're going to say it's intelligently designed.
The final end of the heart is to pump blood. The final end of an eye is to see visual sense information, so on and so forth. Another way of looking at the idea of final ends.
I don't know if that's considered a final end. Like some people's eyes stop seeing, but I wouldn't say that they don't necessarily provide some sort of function. Like the problem I have with that part is like there's an assumption there's only one end for everything, and that's not necessarily the case. Has this guy ever heard of natural selection where visceral parts of the body detriment issues to humanity? Yes. Like this is another issue that I could bring up. Yeah, it's a smuggling of purpose. Like you're right. Like he's smuggling in this idea of everything has a purpose. And it's like, can you prove that? Like, can you give me that? Like to me, evolution by natural selection makes a hell of a lot more sense because things get repurposed and changed depending on environmental conditions. So, yeah, yeah. I don't think that they can prove that everything has a purpose. They just assume it, and it's an emotionally appealing idea, and all religions seem to have it. But tell that the cavists had de-evolved their eyes because they were an infection hazard in a pitch black environment, not that they had an energy to spare for visual processing. Yeah, like you still have fish down deep in the trenches, like, and they still have eyes, but they no longer work because they become so, but they're still there. Like it's, so what are the purpose of the eyes on the back of such a fish? Nothing. Like it, prove, yes, suggest a mechanism, yes. Wow, yeah, well, it's emotional arguments. I think apologetics works on that.
Is to look at the nature or essence of a thing. For the final end of the mouth is to consume food and drink liquids, and the mouth is determined or constructed in such a way as to achieve this end.
Well, see, but that example is bad. Like the final end of the mouth is to eat. Um, is that the only thing your mouth is used for? Oh, I don't know if the little tool has any practical use. Breathe, a kiss. Uh, I don't know. There seems to be multiple purposes to certain things, so I don't know if you can say the end of this thing is this thing. Like you can, it's kind of like the irreducible complexity argument a little bit. Like there's an element of that where you've got this thing does this one thing and it doesn't do anything else. And it's like, no, if you take certain parts about this still works as something else. And I don't get it. Oh my goodness. Nope. Okay. Yeah, like I just, yeah, I don't know. You're a believer. Okay, there you go.
One might attempt to reject this principle at play, but then the opposing interlocutor would have to accept impossible consequences that result from denying the principle of finality. For they would have to say that there is no purpose or meaning, or that the I.
I can say that. Like if you're, and what do you mean by purpose and meaning? I hate to go Jordan Peterson on you there, but why is the assumption that purpose and meaning has only one definition or one cause, or like you can't have multiple purposes to things? Like they're smuggling in this whole idea of purpose and meaning without even proving that purpose and meaning even is there. Like there's something there. So your mouth is for talking back. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, you can't verbalize without mouths. Like there's a multiple purpose that a mouth has. So I'm not going to get into all of them. So it's just I don't get this. And then we want to smuggle in purpose and meaning as well. You have to, if you're going to reject that, you have to reject purpose and meaning. Okay, fine. Like I can do that. Like if you're talking ultimate purpose, ultimate meaning, no, but I can make my own, discover my own. Like there's a locked in way of thinking about purpose and meaning when you go back at the interlocutor like that.
Is not for seeing, nor even the mind for thinking, since supposedly such a principle doesn't exist. But then the interlocutor would have to submit their argument, for if the mind is not ordered towards thinking, then thinking is not ordered towards truth. Essentially,
fuck's sake. Assumption after assumption as a counter, like this is where we're going. Like we're going to assume like the mind can't do other things. Like it always has to be ordered to thinking and always has to be ordered to truth. What? Yeah, like I'm with you there, Earl. Like, huh? I don't understand. I don't get it. Oh my goodness. Hold on for a second. Let me get rid of that guy. All right, very quickly. Seen that person around before. We'll time them out for a bit. Yeah, but I was listening to that. I'm like, huh? Like I don't know. Maybe a designer would design flaws into things, plan obsolescence, but a designer who actually cares about the consumer wouldn't have many flaws in the design of the human body. Hands, body language, Morse code. Yeah, doesn't sitting on a rock imply that its purpose was to be a chair? So, so there you go. Like you're thinking something isn't going to ever make it true. Yeah, I have no time for people that spam comments like that. You're propagandizing, and I have no time for it, Elizabeth. We can all talk about it. So, oh, all right. The dumpster next to the playground. Yes. Oh my goodness. Have not theists ever misthought when drunk? How can they believe logic and reason is metaphysical when it can be like, well, but that's the thing, Erlen. Like the assumption is reason comes from God. They also assume that logic is like a force in the universe that is not a tool that humans have created. Like, and I've argued with theists before on that because math proves God, logic proves God, and I'm like, no, those two things are tools we've created. But this guy's obviously assuming that. So, yeah, and yes, we'll correct. the guy is basically having an argument in his head with an imaginary interlocutor, and I don't know, like he does it a lot like these old books do. Like these guys that are old writers, they have like these imaginary conversations with people. Like you see this with Plato a lot, where he has Socrates having an imaginary conversation with somebody to illustrate a point, and he's doing the same thing, and the guy in the video is doing the same thing too. So, oh boy, here we go. Well, seeing you decided to do that, there we go. I can do this all day, by the way. And seeing you decided to show up twice and use multiple accounts, I'm now really mad at you. Well, I deleted him. I blocked him too. Like not timed out. Like no, bro. The smoking got a pole through his head. Oh my gosh. Mention math. There's bullshit coming. Yes. So there you go. Bada bing, bada boom. Yes. Yeah, I think we all jumped on him at the same time. Like, go away.
In order for the interlocutor's argument to hold ground, they would have to use the principle of finality of which they are trying to disprove. Therefore,
No, that's not what we're doing. We're pointing out that there's alternatives to the principle of finality. Like there's other things there. Like maybe Aristotle didn't know everything. Like maybe there's something else that we can think of. So like we're not using finality to disprove finality. Like no, I don't think that's what's happening. How many of these accounts you got? All right, there we go.
Principle of finality, which teaches that all things in the universe are ordered towards certain ends or goals, is necessarily true. Yet order within the universe can only arise.
Hey, all my mods, just be advised, the automatic response to that guy whenever he comes up in whatever form is to block him permanently, like every time. So okay, thank you. Appreciate it, Earl. But yeah, just be vigilant on that, please. Thank you. That way I can keep going.
If there is an orderer. Put differently, there can only be design or intentionality within the universe if there is an ultimate designer or architect of such order. Rejecting such a proposition would be to say that an arrow could order itself into a mark without an archer. Thus, to break this down further, there has to be a causal explanation of why each nature is ordered towards a certain end.
Or we can stop assuming that each nature is ordered to a certain end and just exists. He's going to do a fire analogy here, and I think it's kind of bad.
Fire, for example, is so constructed that it is able to achieve the final end of consuming or burning oxygen to produce heat. But what is the causal explanation of the...
But is that a final end? Like, if a fire burns shit out, like, yeah, is the watchmaker argument. Yes, we're right back to this. Yes, yes. The watchmaker argument is actually very old. It's just taken different forms. But the question then is the final end of fire itself? Like, no, like, yeah, it's intelligent fire. There you go. So, but yes. But yes, like when I was listening to this, I'm like, what? Oh my goodness. Oh, there we go.
Ordering or determination of its nature. Well, it can't be self-causing, as we discussed earlier. It also cannot be blind chance or a blind force that somehow brings about the nature of these ends.
Has anybody else noticed that apologists are the only ones that kind of use the blind chance argument? Like, they they seem to label something as blind chance, but I've never believed that things were blind chance. Like, I just don't buy that. Like, I can find a cause for a lot of different things, and it's not blind chance. Like, to me, that whole notion of blind chance is kind of it's almost a propaganda statement. Like, they're just, you, you're just, like, I don't understand why they have this notion that you have to have this, you either have to believe in blind chance, or they'll call me a determinist, or they'll call me, it's like there's a propaganda move here with this whole idea of blind chance to me. Like, where is that? So I don't get why they think that that's a good argument, because I never make it. Like, I never sit there and say things must be blind chance then. So I don't know what that is.
Since an object's nature is determined or constructed in such a way that it is able to achieve a final end, as an animal towards reproduction. To say that blind chance brings about final ends is to say that the nature of things aren't really determined for any purpose or goal. Thus, there really wouldn't be any nature of an animal or a man, since the...
But once again, why is there this ultimate goal for anything? Like, why do we have to have this notion that there's an ultimate goal or an objective goal? Like, you haven't proven that part. Like, what is that? Oh, hey Earl, add a report on those too. Like, you may have to report him. So, but I can pull up your stuff even though people, it's your final account. Okay, good. I really hope so. Here's the thing. I have pretty good mods, so you're going to end up basically having every account deleted. You try that shit again. Okay. And at some point you're just, but my whole thing is, what the hell is the purpose of all that? Like, give me some reason. So yeah, but report them too. Like, report them. Like, oh, there you go. So those starving mushroom spores must have fed with this bullshit. Oh, thanks, Creaky. I appreciate it. Okay, but yes. All right, thank you. Yeah, I like the way you get rid of this stuff is like start reporting people, and YouTube will find the ultimate personal source to all the accounts, and they will have a tendency to have a very bad view of that person. So thanks everybody. All right, thank you, appreciate it. But yes. Oh, you already flagged him. Thank you, Dragon Rider. Yeah, everybody can help out with that. Just, it's like, come on, man. I mean, are you just you're starved for attention or something? You got to do shit like that. Like, I don't understand people. I guess maybe it's my autistic brain just doesn't understand the mentality there, or maybe it's just stupid.
Nature of an animal or a man assumes certain ends. But if it's not blind chance that orders all things, why couldn't it be an alien or even an angel? Why must we believe it is God who brings about this order? Well,
That's a very fucking good question. Like, why do we have to assume it's a God? Why can't we assume like it's another being of some sort? Why can't we assume it's aliens? Why can't we assume something else? Like, so there you go. Yeah, Earl's in a mood. So just so everybody knows. But yeah, like, I don't understand. Like, he's brought up a good point. Why can't it be an angel? Why can't it be aliens? Why can't it be something else? Why does it have to be a god? And I'm interested to hear the answer to this question.
Both an angel and an alien assume themselves order. That is, they themselves are ordered towards other objects.
Whoa. How is that a distinction between them and God, though? Like, doesn't God have an order towards something else? Like, are you saying God just sitting up there with no order towards something else? Like, that seems like a very weak argument. So I don't, yeah. Why has God a lottery ticket? Like, okay, if that applies to angels and aliens, why doesn't it apply to God? Like, on what basis do you say it's separate from God?
For example, both would be ordered towards truth. Thus, the thing which is the cause of all order cannot himself be ordered towards another, lest this causal chain go on forever, which is impossible, as we shall discuss. Therefore,
But you're assuming certain qualities of God that may not exist or exist. I don't understand. Hold on. So we're going to reject aliens and we're going to reject angels, making them separate from God. I'm trying to understand the reasoning here because why? So, see you later, Evan. You have a good one. Scully smoke. Yeah, like, yeah, it's like special pleading. Like, that's what I'm trying to get to. Like, all of a sudden, God isn't oriented towards truth. Like, God, he's trying to create a God that has no orientation whatsoever to something else, but everything is oriented to it. Like, are we getting rid of God's ability to interact with his creation then? Like, it's like you create, this is one of those cases where apologists create problems for the theology of God. So theologians would probably listen to this and go, oh my Jesus, now I've got to figure out something else. Like,
for this ultimate being of order cannot be ordered towards truth itself, but just is truth itself. Therefore, we can.
Whoa. How would you prove that? And why does that have to be? Like, if something is oriented to something else, it's not God. So God can't be anything other than oriented to his own self. That's like, are you saying then that God is up his own ass? Like, he has no interaction with his concern for truth is that he is truth itself. Like, what proof do you have then that such a being exists? Like, yeah, like, it's, how do you know that? Like, how would you know that? I don't know.
Conclude that the cause of all order is that being which is truth itself, and this being is what we know of as God. On the contrary, an interlocutor might object and say that maybe there is order within the universe, but the ordering of such order goes on to infinity, or essentially never ends, and therefore we don't need to appeal to a being which is thought and truth itself. Yet again,
claim that God can be tested for and use this argument for one that can't and think that they did their job. Yeah, so ask the stories. Yeah, we know some of those. Well, yeah, like, this is such an assumption. Like, yeah, like, who is this we speak of? Yeah, like, I don't know.
again, this appeal to an infinity of causes is meaningless, since an infinitude of secondary causes, or causes which have their power from another, achieves no power at all, since secondary causes only act in virtue of a primary cause, and thus
but once again, we're kind of assuming secondary and primary causes are a thing without proving they are. I don't, like, we keep avoiding the main issue, which is you're trying to do everything in your power to make God different than everything else. He's not a secondary cause, he's primary. He's not oriented towards truth, he is the truth. He's not this, but he is that. Like, what? So, the names of Zod, yes. Like, I excel from himself. Yeah, like, this goes to that argument too. So God, sacrificed himself to save himself from his, like, what the hell? His reasoning might be a metaphysical sense of truth, where ultimate truth is manifesting as God being the source and direction of everything. But Yahweh, uh, his God does a lot. Yes, like Yahweh God isn't that. Like, yeah. Sick of fart sniffers. Yeah, I know. I get it. Yeah, it's a big what moment for me too. He's going around it. He's special pleading, and he's doing it in a multitude of different ways all at once.
This primary orderer, or governor of the universe, which sustains everything that has design, is what we know of as God. Here then we have established 3 demonstrative arguments that show forth the existence of God. Each of them have shown that God is the first cause which gives existence to everything, is the necessary being in which all contingent things depend on, and finally is the governor or designer by which he orders all things in creation.
Okay, I didn't want to get off of that here. Back a little bit. Play just a bit.
Or designer by...
All right. I can get along fine without any of those things being true. I think the universe still makes goddamn sense without any of those things being true. It is quite possible that we don't need a first cause. It's very possible that we don't need a necessary being. Like I'm just straight up, I'm Occam razoring all this shit right off as unnecessary. Like, I don't think your concept of God proves any of this. Like, you can say there's a first cause. Let's say we could push it back and we get to the first thing that started everything off. Why can't it be Fangs going back in time, seeing a red button and pushing it? And now we're in this infinite time loop from the time that Fangs goes back in time and pushes the button. Like, you haven't proved, like, as ridiculous as that sounds, I have as much proof for that as you do that God's a first cause. Like, it's what the hell? like a necessary being. Like, I see a lot of beings that it seems to me everything is contingent. So what example can you give me of a necessary being that would show me that a necessary being exists? Like, you haven't really done that. And as far as a designer, well, the design argument is old as the hills. Its current rendition is the watchmaker, or somebody will probably do a Boeing 747. But no, like, none of these arguments prove their point. In fact, I would argue that all of them kind of beg the question to a certain extent. Like, you're assuming there's a first cause, you're assuming there's a necessary being, you're assuming there's a designer without actually proving it. So you keep coming back to this. You're the designer? Okay, that's fair. See, I just, Fangs takes the lap back in time to be the designer, and I can completely understand now. Like, I can do this all day with any theology. Like, people ask me what Fangs is about. Like, Fangs is my absolute instrument, and very cooperative in this being this instrument of proving the absurd things that theologians and philosophers say by being absurd. Like, I can say that we're in a time loop with Fangs. It's a necessary time loop to keeping things rolling. Like, I can sit there and say, the lap in which our Lord naps Earl went back in time and designed the whole thing on a schematic and then pushed a button or left the button for Fangs to push. I mean, the reasoning here is so bad. Like, and given the time for Aquinas, I guess I could understand it because there wasn't a lot of other alternative explanations. But the more we learn about the universe, none of this shit is true. Like, I don't know. You got to quit assuming. Like, in the first argument, we all remarked, like, how quick he went, therefore God. Like, well, we have to get back in the causal chain to existence itself. And so therefore God. Like, it really was that quick. With no justification, nothing. Like, there you go. See? like, I don't, yeah, like it, Cranky, you nailed it on the head. Like, I can just make up whatever fuckery I want and you just have to accept it because otherwise you have problems with your reasoning and then not demonstrate how that is so. People wonder, like, I dismissed almost all the arguments for the existence of God while I was still a Christian back when I just got out of seminary. Like, I started looking at them close and I realized all of them have a begging the question problem, special pleading problems. Like, they are great illustrations of how logical fallacies can be in any way or shape or form there. Like, they are all good illustrations. And I just dumped it. Now, I remained a theist for other reasons, but I knew that these arguments were all flawed and bad. So, yeah. So, there you go. Oh, my goodness. I see pictures of beautiful constellations and gorgeous cosmic. I wonder, what are these for? Why even exist as something or somebody be able to enjoy the spectacle? Yeah. Oh, oh my gosh. I don't use the R word. It's not easy to answer unless we have apologists. It's like a fitting pulled piece that would be seen. It's like, yes, but yes, like, I know. I just don't know.
by which he orders all things in creation. The arguments used are not meant to show that God began the universe at a particular point in time, as for example in the Kalam cosmological argument as presented by William Lane Craig, but they are meant to show that God
I'm sorry. I should have warned everybody about the William Lane Craig reference. So this guy does reference him. Okay, you're taking it back. Okay, fair enough. More evidence for time traveling fangs. We've all seen the time warp. Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So
sustains the universe in its concurrent existence at all times. Now, since this being, which we know of as God, is necessary, we know that it must be unchangeable or immutable, since it cannot begin or cease to exist. And if it could change, there would have to be an explanation by another being prior to it for its change. But there is no other.
well, here's your problem, and I know where he's going with this. And if I was still a Christian theologian, I would point out to this wonderful apologetic person that he's created a theological problem by making God immutable. If God is immutable and can't change, then he can't create. At some point, God has to make the decision to create something. And the moment he does that, he changes. The notion that God is immutable just doesn't make any sense. He would just sit there in a static state doing nothing, like perfect in his own perfection, no lack, no nothing. Um, that's the problem with starting to say that God is immutable, like he doesn't change, because then no change is possible. If we're going to take your arguments to the logical conclusion at this point, yeah, I don't know. So I don't get it. Good to see you, native. But like, the problem that apologists sometimes create for theology is this one: if God is immutable, he doesn't change. Okay, think about that. Then God would just sit there in a static state and nothing would exist. Like, there has to be some sort of motivation for God to move, and then he moves and things change. That's why there's that argument as God, if God's a prime mover, then he's a mover. So that's change. That defines what change is. So, well, I think we're done with the arguments, but it's a problem in that breaker that he crashed into. He has considered the benevolent creator of the universe shouldn't allow suffering in the universe at all. Correct. Yes, and the Old Testament God does indeed change his mind, so that indicates God can change. And so when you start to make this apologetic argument that God is this unchangeable thing, well, then how is he a cause of something if he doesn't change? That assumes that he's putting out some sort of energy to change things or make things move, which would imply some change. So I don't know. Would we? Oh my goodness. There you go. There you go. There you go. God is immutable, then Jesus was a liar because sacrifices have to be made in the temple. Yes, like God obviously changes his mind about theology over time. Like the whole idea of God not being immutable is probably the biggest problem in theology, the implications of which are just staggering for them. Now, I don't have to deal with that bullshit anymore. But when apologists say this kind of stuff, I don't think they realize what they're doing to their friends.
It would also have to be omnipotent, since it can't lack any power, as if it did, then it could change or grow in power, but it can't, thus it is omnipotent. Further, this being must be immaterial, since it cannot change, and of course matter has the potential of change.
How do you know that the immaterial doesn't have the potential to change? And if it doesn't change, like this is the other thing with this whole argument is like God is outside time, space, and matter. Well, what does that do to the doctrine of the omnipresence of God, where God is everywhere present at all times? Like if you throw that in, then God has to be both inside and outside the universe at all times. Like it, when apologists make these statements, they just create further problems for their fellow brothers and sisters. So, hail Fangs. There we go. There we go. Okay, for gerbils death. Oh, you can imagine Jesus rolling, dude. Yeah, I can see that. I don't know. I just this. Yeah, it's like human sacrifices. Then we go like it's this doesn't prove anything other than you have no imagination of how this could work different.
It also would be omnipresent, since this being is everywhere by its causal power, which it exerts over creation.
But you just contradicted your previous point that God has to be outside the universe, thus he can't be inside of it at the same time, so he's not omnipresent. This is the problem with the omni God, by the way. He contradicts himself a lot.
And finally, it would have to be omniscient, and we conclude this from the argument from design. For the ends of things are only able to be ordered by that which is intelligent, and not some blind force or chance, as we discussed.
You haven't proven that. That's your assumption. And it's not blind, it's not chance. I mean, why can't you just accept that maybe certain things are the way they are? Like, and no God required. Still waiting for this.
Thus, this being is intelligent, and cannot lack any knowledge that he could grow in, and therefore this being is omniscient. Now, there are many more attributes or properties of this being that we could discuss. Nonetheless, this list shall suffice. We can now conclude that there is a being who is
Okay, here's our conclusions. So here we go.
omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, immutable, and immaterial, who is the first cause, who is a necessary being, and the governor of all creation. And this
All right, I'm go back to this.
and the governor of all creation.
As many have pointed out, there's a lot of inconsistencies between all these things. If he's immaterial, that means he kind of doesn't exist. Like I've always felt that the immaterial claim was a very big weakness for attributes for God, because if he's not material, then what the hell is he? Okay, like yeah. Once again, you're asking the same question I am, Earl. Why? Why does this have to be the case? Why are these things necessary? Like we already discussed, I don't buy the first cause necessary being governor designer argument. If he's a governor of the universe, he's a pretty shit one because there's a lot of chaos and bullshit out there. That's part of the problem with the government argument from design is bad design. So yes, like if you Earl, see, this is why you're the smartest woman, one of the smartest women I know, because you see it and I see it. Like all of these things, you start to define your God out of existence. Like if this is what your God has to be, there's nothing that can have these qualities, all of them. You might have somebody that has all power, okay, but they can't be certain other things then. Like the immutability of God has always been a bugaboo for God, because God clearly is shown to change inside this pages of scripture. So if this is your natural theology answer, then it contradicts the special revelation one. So where we're going, we don't need logic. Yes. If God is immutable, then no tattoos, no park, no mixed. Yeah, like, why did these things change? Like, this is an impossibility. Like, if you look at this list, it's just an impossible list to put together. At some point, you're going to have a logical contradiction. If God is omnipresent, then how is he immaterial? Like, how is he outside the universe? Okay. If he's the first cause, how is he immutable? Because to cause something is to change something, which will require you to change yourself. Your thoughts and intentions should change. So a lot of these things just, yeah, like, there's no feeling of regret. There's nothing here that goes together. And this is where natural theology has its limits, because some of this stuff is contradicted by the Bible. Yeah, Mike makes right. How so? How is on the list because they're starting to realize how BS that claim. Yes, I think, Blossom, that they know that. Like, a lot of early apologists back in the day did not talk about an all-loving God, and I think a lot of people are starting to drop the idea. Like, you even have some apologists literally saying, "Well, God isn't like that. Like, he is not all-loving." Now, of course, they run into that little 3-word verse, "God is love," but this is where the apologist likes to dwell in the realm of natural theology, but doesn't want to deal with the fact that his Bible sometimes, or the Quran, or something else, that whatever holy book, contradicts a lot of what they say here. It just doesn't work. So I don't know. Has anybody do? Oh, but leaving. But yeah, like, it's. Anybody convinced? Anybody want to become a God-believing Christian after this? Because this is the end of the video. Like, he literally doesn't say much else.
And this is none other than what we know of as God. Thank you for watching.
All right. There's the end of it. There you go. So, anybody a believer? Has anybody decided to become a Christian? Decide to become a believer in God, leaving atheism? I suppose we could just say, no, really? No. Okay. So, these arguments were supposed to prove God, and apparently they failed. On a practical level, they fail on a philosophical level. You're not going back either? Okay, yeah. They say God is love, then in the same book they define love in the manner that God cannot possibly live up to. Correct. Yeah, most of us didn't believe when we were going to church. Some of us didn't. I know I had a problem with my intellectual faith from like 26 on, until I left the church. But, sunk cost fallacy keeps you in things for quite a while. A lot of us have experienced that in one form or another. And you weren't convinced by this new stuff either, huh, Fred? Okay. Oh, damn it. And here I was hoping. See, every time I do one of these apologetics videos, I always wonder what it would take to convince me. And so far, none of this works. So I don't get it. Don't get it. Atheist makes me immensely intelligent because the rational power levels are so ajar. Yes, I was a Christian for 40 years. I preached for 30, overlapping some of those 40 years, and I was a pastor for 20 years. I have a degree in biblical studies and ministry and a degree in theological studies too. So I didn't walk away from this stuff because I was ignorant or any of that, non-experienced. Nope. Walked away because you start to study this stuff and you know one thing really quick after a while. It doesn't have any evidence for it. So, hey, Fluency. So, yeah, there wasn't anything new here either. It's immutable that Jesus is a false prophet, though God did seem to regret the flood. The Bible tells us so. So all that was said at the end was a contradictory and full of holes. Yeah, like I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, I'll give the guy this. Okay, he uses his own voice. Like that is his real voice. He really does do the narration. Because there's clips on the channel of him talking to people, and it is genuinely his voice. I'll give him the nature clips; they were really good, but I don't think that. So, too busy fighting cops and being homeless. Oh my goodness! Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to call it a day, but I do want to do a few announcements. I do want to pull us back to what we're working on here with the lovely, wonderful Earl. So I want to make sure I post that again. It is also linked in the chat, so you have all of that. But yes, we're trying to help our Earl be less homeless, move from the homeless status to having a home, getting a place for her and her doggo. And so, yes. So, yeah, it is. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's a young apologist fiction. Yes, I think you might be onto something there, Ryan. Maybe you should research that. So we do want to help Earl. The link to the GoFundMe is in the chat. It's also in the description of this stream, I believe. So if you're listening to this later, but make sure you give Earl a hand. Save our artist. Get her. We're trying to get Earl to a better place of stability. Just say that. And we also have some stuff to, do some surgery on her hands and get her back on her feet and doing the things she loves doing and doing the things necessary. So please check that out. And if you can help it, if you can't help financially, we'd appreciate it if you'd share the link and get it out there and give it to other people. We're doing really good, like for less than a week so far. Yeah, $1,140 out of the 7,000 so far. So yeah, like in the last 2 hours, we've had another 100 donated. So thank you to those that did that. Hey, Triple E. That was good. All right. There you go. But yeah, it's like, Earl. Yeah. So, but yes. But yeah, we're here to help Earl and get her back on her feet and get her going in where she needs to go. And, and so there's a lot of us like Evan and myself and several others that are trying to help Earl out. And we ask you to join us and get her back on her feet. The big thing is the medical expense. And we all know how America is with medicine, and who's in charge of that right now doesn't indicate to me that that's going to change anytime soon. So we're going to try to help Earl ourselves. So thank you. So, but yeah. All right. But thanks everybody for stopping by. I do want to give a special shout out to Decibel, a couple of times for Decibel. Thank you very much. Martin as well. The Elder Gods with their emissary. Thank you, Cranky. And thank you, Fred. You guys are great. Keeps my channel going along. And additionally, I'll make sure that some of that, when I get paid by Google, is going to head towards Earl. So make sure that you can know that. So, but thank you so much. See, is there anything? I will be back on again Monday. So, and we'll have another fireside chat moment. I'm doing okay. Had to process some things Wednesday. A lot of things happened at once. That was what that was about. And I'm like, I got to take a step back for a second and catch my breath. So, but thanks everybody. Appreciate you guys being here. May Fangs nibble on all of your hearts. May he draw himself closer to you with his sharp, pointy teeth. Maybe he nibble on all of yours. So, but thank you so much, folks, for being here at Fangs. Just to remind yourself, if you need a warm fuzzy today from your religion, We have that with the godlet Fangs. And this picture will always, always give you a warm fuzzy. So we have that. If you need a religious ritual, we have circumcising the carrot and placing it on your stash because, as we know, all religious rituals require this sort of thing. And it may preserve your stash because Fangs may take the carrot instead. It may not. Results vary. Depends on your lack of faith in the ritual. So thanks. And remember that Fangs also has legal ways to take your stash, so check your local laws. Beware all the lies, vibes, confusion out there that apologists bring. This guy didn't help us either. So there you go. And watch out for those presuppositionalist apologists. They're everywhere. And it seems like everybody's a presuppositional apologist these days. So thank you very much for everybody. Thanks once again. As always, folks, live your blessed life. You only get one go around and then it's over. So take all your time, money, opportunities, and give them to yourself, the people you love and care for, and to make this a better world. You'll be happier if you do. And don't waste them on the trappings of religion and faith, because that's a dead end. I speak from experience. And as always, folks, thanks for stopping by. You'll probably see me around some places this weekend. You never know. And I know I'm doing something with Felicia on Sunday as well. So just stay tuned for all of that and keep following everything. Appreciate everybody here. I'll see you all Monday with another Rabid Atheist show. See you then. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the end to find out how you can support the channel better. Of course, there's always the normal notions of just hitting that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit your notification bell, and share the video with your friends and family that you think would be interested. That's always very appreciated. If you want to support the channel in a more tangible way, there's several options. You can super chat or super thanks in the comments or during a stream. Those are always very welcome. But you also can become a member of the channel. Members have certain perks like getting the videos early, things like that. They also have some good custom emojis during chat. So all of these things are good benefits to members, but they also support this channel and its work to continue to normalize atheism and deconversion, for which I'm very appreciative. It keeps me going, and it keeps me as a content creator being able to do more and more as a content creator. So if you choose those methods of support, thank you very much. And I appreciate you once again for staying to the end and listening to other ways that you can support the channel. Appreciate it. Thanks, and I'll catch you next time.